Franklin Town Board. Welcome. If there's anybody that wanted to address the board in the public session, you need to go ahead and sign up as soon as you can at the podium there, if you will. The first thing, I need to have a motion to excuse Patty tonight. Patty is off on a business trip.
I so move.
All right, second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. All right, the next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Vice Mayor Vernon Curtis.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item of business is the adoption of tonight's agenda. Does anyone have any additions or anything they want to change about the agenda for tonight? Not hearing any, I'll call for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. All in favor? The next item is the approval of the June the 1st, 2015 board minutes. Any discussion on the board minutes from the last meeting? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I have Mr. Bob Burke is signed up for the public session. Welcome, Mr. Burke. Come right ahead, sir.
Thank you. My name is Bob Burke, and I'm with Making New Beginnings. We're a new organization. We were established in April of 2015 to address the Macon County homeless challenge. As you may know or may not know, there are, according to the last point in time survey that was taken, that's available, it was in January 29th, 2014. That survey indicated that there were 24 homeless individuals in Macon County. Irrespective of whether you think that number's right or wrong, there are homeless people in Macon County, and our organization was established to help address that challenge. As you may know, also, there is no shelter within Macon County. There is REACH, there's several other programs available, but there's no shelter in Macon County for a homeless male, for somebody who has not been battered. So we're here to try to address the needs of the homeless. What we've done is we've come up with our mission statement, and I'll pass around a little brochure that has information. So we're in the information gathering stage, being set up in April. We're a 501c3 organization, so we're an IRS nonprofit organization. We've had a couple of fundraising events recently. One of them was a concert at the Smoky Mountain Performing Arts Center that went very well for our first concert. We had 5 bands there, and the participation was very well. We also had an auction recently. Both of those events were to raise some funds. As you may know, it costs money to become a 501c3. There are other organizational costs that we incurred, and the board has donated, etc. At this moment, I'd like to introduce some of our board members. We have Kevin Hamilton. He's our secretary. Duane Hamilton is our treasurer, and she also runs the thrift store, which I'll talk about in a minute. Carrie Harrington is on our board. Paul Sears, also a board member. Suzanne, I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name. Onexis. We have several other board members that are not present this evening, couldn't make it for one reason or another. Our first priority was to start reaching out to the community, which is why we're here tonight. We wanted to introduce ourselves formally, let you know that we're in the area, and we're trying to start the process of gathering information. We've participated with the state's Balance of State Homeless Coalition program. where Macon County happens to be in the southwest region of that coalition. The rest of the counties, other 79, are also in that balance, so we compete for funds with them. So we've met with them. We've met with other organizations. CareNet, I had an excellent meeting with the CareNet organization about how we can collectively use each one of our skill sets to meet the needs of the homeless in the area. We don't have the solutions now. What we're in the process of doing is gathering that information. We'll analyze that information and put together some recommendations. In the future, we plan on coming up with a symposium to get as many of those people in the community together, the churches, the government organizations, the private organizations, and present what we've found. It's not Macon New Beginnings solution. It's Macon County solution is what we're after. So a little bit more about us. We are in the process, like I said, of coming up with several meetings with different organizations. I'm going to be meeting with Macon Program for Progress here in the near future. Other organizations, Pathways, Haywood Pathways has a new homeless shelter there. That I want to get their feedback and their reactions and the information that they got when they set up and opened their facility in October of 2014. So a lot of information that we're going to try to gather, not only within the state, within the counties that surround us, best practices across the country is what we're also looking for. One of the surveys, just as some more information that I got a hold of, was done in Orlando. And the idea was to try to determine how much it costs a community to address, or to, I should say, to not address the homeless challenge that they have. Well, the survey was conducted by an organization out of Waynesville. They found that for 13, the average cost per person per year was $31,000, rounded off. So if you use the numbers that we got from the Point in Time survey of 24 people, you can quickly come up with $750,000 it costs the community, incarceration, emergency services, and the list goes on. So we're not talking about a small number. So we're here to try to address those needs that the homeless have. There's several phases that most organizations who deal with the homeless address. First of all is prevention. It costs a lot less to prevent somebody from becoming homeless than it does to let them go through the process, get evicted or whatever the circumstances, and then not have a home. So our first prong will be addressing how to prevent people. That may be legal services in some way, if they have a lease issue, if the person becomes injured some way and they can't work anymore. So we're looking at aspects on how to address preventing somebody from getting homeless. We also are looking into, we can't reach everybody. We can't prevent everybody from becoming homeless. So we believe that we're going to have to address at some point a shelter in some fashion. We don't know what that looks like right now. Again, we're gathering information and we're looking particularly to this board, to the county, for input. You know, what would that look like in Macon County? One of the things that I wanted to bring up is in our mission statement is we talk about several aspects. First of all, and primarily, are Christian principles. We believe that individuals will need that the saving grace of Jesus and Christian principles. So underlying all of the things that we do, we're going to try to emphasize that belief. If somebody doesn't go down that path, that's fine as well. We're here to love everybody that we can. So first of all, foremost, Christian principles. Secondly, we talk about collaborating and building relationships. That's why I'm here. Again, we'll be continuing to meet with other organizations throughout the county, the town, the region, etc. Also promoting public awareness, the concert, the auction. We have a national hunger and homeless week in November. That's November 16 through 22 of this year. So we're going to participate in that. It may take it whatever forms to try to create some more public awareness. Also, October 1st, there's a veterans organization. It's a veterans partnerships that's sponsoring a stand down October 1st. And we want to participate in that because there are veterans who are homeless. So we want to help in that aspect. Next item is advocating for Macon homeless. There's plenty of services available that the county, the VA, etc. have available. We want to make sure that anybody who's homeless are aware of what those programs are out there. Building capacity and focusing resources. Through our information gathering and interacting with others and partnering in the area, we want to build those resources, whether it's volunteer time, whether it's financial, whether it's prayer, any of those resources we want to build up and then focus on trying to, like I say, prevent homeless, emergency shelter them, and then the third prong is transition them to a home. That's ultimately our goal, is to get them back into the home and start participating in the community again. And then lastly is the transitioning to a home. There may be a couple of things that I just wanted to cover real quickly. Some people may say, well, a shelter or whatever form that takes in the future, that may attract homeless people. Survey after survey after survey that I've seen indicate that homeless people do not travel to Los Angeles to go find a homeless shelter. They don't travel to New York. They don't travel from where their home is and where their family is. So, in essence, what we're talking about is helping our family members, our community is what we're talking about. Also, some people may say, well, there's substance abuse and mental illness issues. There are. And our group does not have that expertise, but we are certainly going to partner with Meridian, Smoky Mountain Center to address that. As we move forward, we'll be looking to get all the input from all the board members here. Okay, sure. So as you have any kind of comments or suggestions, the phone numbers are on the contact brochures. We can be reached anytime you have a question or comment or a thought.
All right, sir. Just let us know, we're open, and we'd like to get you back on the agenda where you can get into a little bit more detail as you move along and keep us informed.
And I certainly would like to update you as much as I possibly can. And our website, we'll start posting progress reports on there and where we are and what we've done and that sort of thing.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank
Burke.
you.
We appreciate it, sir. The next person on the agenda is Angela Moore. Mrs. Moore.
The minimum housing standards. Sounds boring, doesn't it? It's not, I can assure you. And in the spirit of the independence and freedom that our forefathers fought for, I'd like to take a minute to talk about the minimum housing standards. It would be reasonable to assume that you as the elected officials of the town of Franklin would be familiar with this document, especially Alderman Mashburn, Curtis, Hanley, and Jameson, as well as Mayor Scott, who were on the board when it was unanimously enacted 4 years ago. But I have my doubts if you've even read it. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The enforcement of the minimum housing ordinance, as it is written, is a gross violation of the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, violating the rights of the people to be secure in their persons and their homes against unreasonable searches and seizures. It is egregious to violate this, and it is personal. If you are violating the rights of even one person, you are trampling on the freedom of all of us. Let me read an excerpt from the minimum housing standards. And I quote, "The town planner is authorized to enter, examine, and survey at all reasonable times all dwellings, dwelling units, rooming houses, rooming units, and the associated premises for the purpose of making inspections. The owner, occupant, or the person in charge of every dwelling, dwelling unit, rooming house, or rooming unit shall give the town planner free access to that dwelling and its premises at all reasonable times for the purpose of such inspection, examination, and survey. To sum that up, it says the town planner can, at his own discretion, go in every apartment, condo, rental home, mobile home, and owner-occupied home in Franklin and the ETJ. That is a violation of our right against unreasonable searches, if I'd ever heard one. In fact, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that a warrant would be needed for such a search. The minimum housing standards dictate numerous standards for, and I quote, the fitness for the initial and continued occupancy of all buildings used for human habitation. I lived in Africa, rural Africa, for a year. I have seen minimum housing standards. Quite honestly, some of the standards listed in the town of Franklin's minimum housing standards are downright embarrassing. Let me highlight a few. I'll keep to standards that are applicable to both owner-occupied homes and rented dwellings. Noxious weeds. Every yard and all exterior property areas shall be kept free of species of weeds or plant growth which are noxious or detrimental to health. In other words, our poor town planner is responsible for hunting down every residential property with poison ivy, poison sumac, poison oak, and Carolina nightshade in the town's jurisdiction. Although, if it is the board's desire to regulate noxious weeds, a good place to start would be their own properties. Poison ivy is readily found on the town-owned Whitmire property, and Carolina nightshade can be found growing right here at Town Hall. Cleanliness, and I quote, every occupant of a dwelling or dwelling unit shall keep in a clean and sanitary condition that part of the dwelling, dwelling unit, and premises which he occupies and controls. Now, just so we are clear, an occupant is defined as anyone over the age of 1. That's right, kids. The town of Franklin is coming to see if you cleaned your room. While they're at it, they'll make sure mom and dad did the dishes and scrubbed the toilet bowl. This is certainly ridiculous. Screens. Every door opening directly from a dwelling unit to outdoor space shall be equipped with screens and a self-closing device. In other words, there needs to be an actual screen, not just a storm door, on every door of every home in Franklin and the ETJ. The really fun part about this is that you can walk down the road and see hundreds of homes that are in violation. According to the minimum housing standards, they are unfit for human habitation because they do not have a screen on their front door. They are unfit for human habitation according to the minimum housing standards. Were these regulations really the intent of the board? This brings me back to my first point. I am doubtful if the board has even read the minimum housing standards. In fact, I have a few examples that prove my point. The following residences lack a screen on one or more dwelling openings and are in violation of the minimum housing standards. 299 Hearst Circle, owned by Alderman Billy Mashburn. 39 Northside Drive, owned by Alderman Joyce Hanley. 266 Harrison Avenue, owned by Alderman Barbara McCrae. 77 Wilkie Street, owned by Alderman Patty Abel, and 86 Southern Drive, owned by Bob Scott.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm not going to allow personal attacks on this board.
This is not personal.
Yes,
this is about a violation of town law that was passed by this board.
And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think you understand that. You are talking about the difference between criminal warrants and administrative search warrants. Two entirely different things.
I have looked up the case laws.
I'm going to give you 2 more minutes to wrap it up. But I will not tolerate personal attacks on this board. Let's just make that clear right now. You've got a problem with anybody on this board, you come to them in person. But unless you've got some kind of compelling interest, and I'm not going to violate your First Amendment rights at all, but you've got to come up with the proof of why you're singling these board members out. Okay, I'm giving you 2 more minutes.
I'm singling these board members out because they said with their vote that they supported this, that they believed that this was reasonable and that this should be law when they themselves were violating it. And it is not personal in no way, shape, or form.
Okay, I'm not going to argue the point with you. You've got 2 more minutes. And you're not on the agenda. You are here for the public comment.
I understand.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to be clear, this is not personal in any way. It has nothing to do with any personal vendetta I have against any one of you. I have no problem with anyone on this board. I do, however, have a problem with elected officials enacting things that they themselves violate or that they themselves have not read. And I do not know if you read it, but I would hope that you did not enact a law that you knew for a fact that you yourself were violating, and were okay with that.
All right. Now, if you think that anybody on this board is violating the law, it's your duty as a citizen to report that and come before the planning board. This is not the place to try.
I'm not asking for trial. I'm simply commenting to the board that they may want to take a second look. In fact, I would encourage the board to consider an ordinance to rescind the minimum housing ordinance, both because it violates the U.S. Constitution and because there are resources that would be needed to enforce all of the elements of the minimum housing standards would be prohibitive. I know that it is the habit of this board to ignore citizens that come to speak at the public session, but I think you owe your constituents an explanation.
Okay, and I think we will give you that explanation. Mr. Setzer, when will the planning board meet again?
2 weeks.
And can you tell us the
Starting
time?
Monday,
And can you tell us the time?
4 o'clock.
Okay, 4 o'clock. Ms. Moore, there is your opportunity to open the door to follow the proper procedure in coming and getting these issues that you bring up resolved.
Is it my understanding that you are asking people not to bring their concerns to the board?
No, it is not. No.
But I will assure this board, and I feel it's incumbent on me to assure you that your minimum housing code is based in solid, rock solid federal and state law. It is not violative of anybody's rights. In fact, it protects the rights of people who live in this community not to live next to places that cause infestations of vermin on their property. It also takes a giant step back from where it could go in terms of exempting owner-occupied housing. And a careful reading of that ordinance would tell anybody who is reading it that owner-occupied housing is exempted from almost every one of those.
The examples I gave,
Council,
It further
excuse me,
Not-
Ms.
almost
Moore,
entirely
Ms. Moore,
prohibited, except for the fact that rental properties are
Right.
protected because it is an anti-slum ordinance.
That's exactly right.
every
Ms.
example
Moore,
I
Ms.
gave
Moore,
applied to
Mrs.
all
Moore.
homes.
Mrs. Moore, I am in charge of this meeting, and I am gathering you down as of right now. I have told you the procedure you can follow to address your concerns. All right, that takes care of the public session.
Mr. Mayor, I forgot, I didn't read G down here. Could I comment on the North Carolina Department of Transportation?
Let us get to it, and then I'll take you right then, if you don't
Well, it's
mind.
about a 30-second deal.
30 seconds?
Yes.
All right, go, 30 seconds.
Last week, the car down that old Coleman Water Street fell in that hole again. And What
Okay.
they did, they torn out a lot of the dirt there, and all you got now is a foundation, sticking up. I crawled down in that tile, and I'll never do that again.
Okay,
But you go down in there, and it's all eat up, and the water that rushes in there, and a lot of times, that whole thing is about this big around, that whole thing is filled up, and it's like a little pool up there before it goes in. And what's down there about 8 or 10 feet, there's no tile.
okay, let's see what we can do. We're going to talk about it. We will go, that is a DOT road. And I'm in complete sympathy with you. I think the DOT is in a bind right now, is everybody with the cutbacks we've seen on repairs and everything. Let me look into that again, okay? We're not brushing you off, believe you me. That's been a sore spot for many,
I had
many
to
years.
kill those rattlesnakes on my yard, though, I guess.
All right, let's move on. Want to welcome the new Social Services Director, Patrick Betancourt. You wanted to speak to the board, sir? Come right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be very brief. I want to thank the town council for having me this evening. I want to thank Donna Mashburn for also coordinating my ability to be before you tonight. I just want to take a moment to thank you and to tell you that I'm honored to be a new member of the town of Franklin. I want to continue the relationship that the county Department of Social Services had with this town. I know under previous director, Jane Kimsey, I've got some amazing shoes to fill. It's my intent to continue the good work she's done for that agency, and I hope that that work intersects with the town. And I look forward to receiving any kind of feedback, any kind of communication from the town that the town wishes to present. So thank you for that partnership.
Well, I think I can speak for the board. We're just glad to have you here, and if there's anything we can do, we're always available. Anybody from the board have any questions or comments?
Happy here.
Absolutely. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank
You have made a good choice of a town to come
I
to.
think so. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All right, the next item is the reappointment of Pat Tiller to the Alcohol and Beverage Control Board. If there's any discussion from the board, there are two things we can do. We can reappoint him tonight, or we can go to our resolutions and open it up for applications of somebody. What is the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion, we reappoint.
Second.
All in favor? Any discussion? Okay. All in favor? All right, so Mr. Patillo will stay on the ABC board. All right, the next item is the reappointment of the town tax collector. Madam Manager.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Town Board, thank you very much. It is the yearly appointment of our town tax collector, and we would like to recommend to the town board the reappointment of Miss Jessie Wilkins for another one-year appointment, please.
Do I have such a motion? Okay. Second?
Your voice is failing.
Second? Okay, all in favor? And the next item is the reappointment of the town clerk.
Thank you, Mr.
Madam
Mayor.
Manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Town Board. The next item is, the mayor said, is the annual reappointment of the town clerk. And we would like to recommend for reappointment Chad Simons as town clerk for another year appointment.
Entertain such a motion.
I'll make a motion. Second.
All in favor? All right, applications for the, oh, wait a minute, about to skip one here. I need a motion to authorize the town manager to send a letter to the National Flood Insurance Program. I'll ask the Madam Manager if she would present.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Town Board. What we're asking tonight is just to be able to open some dialogue with the National Flood Insurance Program. They're not even willing to speak to myself or the town planner even regarding the maps that were inaccurate a couple years ago without just a letter. This is just simply a letter to open the dialogue, nothing else at this time.
I make a motion to send the letter. Second.
Second.
All in favor? All right, the next, Madam Manager, you have applications for the fiscal year nonprofit funding pool.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
We have opened the 2015-2016 nonprofit funding pool applications. They're available online. They'll be available tomorrow morning online, and then also they'll be advertised. You can pick them up front. It'll be in local news media. They're due August the 24th, Monday, August the 24th by 5 p.m.
If the media would help us get that word out, please. Thank you. All right, we need we've got some updates on various North Carolina Department of Transportation projects. Mr. Derrick, this is something you might be interested in.
Thank you.
Mr. Setzer, you're going to bring us up to date on these.
Yes. 2 weeks ago, myself and Manager Summer and it was just us. Sorry. We went to a meeting with sorry, a lot of meetings the past couple weeks. We went to a meeting with NCDOT out in Southwestern, and they gave some updates on some of the projects that were awarded points and funded for the next 10-year next cycle of the STIP program through DOT projects. One being the road project down 441, starting at the overpass, right there where Solid Road is, down to Wells Grove, or White Horizon. And that, in a sense, that was the project to do some access management, putting in a divided median, because that's the area that everybody knows that lives in town that's prone to multiple crashes, ranks very high in crashes across the state, through a red flag. So that's one reason why that project is being funded, and is tentatively could be, I believe, work could start in 2019.
Right-of-way acquisition 2019 and 2020 for construction.
2020 for construction. And since we had some discussion of how we want it to look, simply hopefully not going to have a wall, have a divided median, make it look nice, inviting coming into town. So there was a lot of discussion, even sidewalks, curbs, make it look nice, not just look like there's one down a rock wall down through there. The other project that was funded is actually a couple projects. It is the potential there. The DOT is going to do some engineer studies on it. One is potentially a roundabout in the area of Maple Street and Water Street, right there where the Episcopal and the Catholic Church, right there above the fire department, and also one potential roundabout in this area of the chamber right there at Porter and Water Street there as well. And they're going to look into it, and they're going to come back with some engineer studies, and even potentially a study at Walnut Street as well. When you first come down down the single lane from 2-lane, they're going to go roundabout there as well. But after some discussion, it looks like what might be best there would be a left turning lane into Walnut, so we'll keep that lane flowing, so we won't have that backup that people are used to right there at Walnut when you're first coming into town. So those were the big projects that's being funded by the state, and they just wanted some comments from the town and the county that we met with 2 weeks ago.
What did you have anything to add? Do me one favor. Let's see if we can get the DOT to go look at that natural cave that seems to be evolving out there.
I have a meeting next Wednesday with DOT engineers.
Would you do me a favor and put it number 1 on the agenda?
We'll put that on the list.
Right.
It's one of the.
One of these days, somebody's going in there and we'll never find them again. We'll be gone.
Bob, I'll be voting for you, son.
All right. Okay, budget amendments. Ms. Doster and Ms. Southern.
The first one I have is for the Memorial Park restoration grant. It was funds that was received in 2015 and were unexpended as of June 30th. So those must be appropriated in 2016 to these.
Is that it?
That's the first one.
Oh, that's the first one. Okay, you want to do them all at one time? Or
I'm going
take
to
them
do one
separately?
more, and then Evelyn has one.
Okay.
She's going to present. The next one is for the fire fund. This amendment reflects the increase of the Franklin Fire District tax from the 3.56 cents to 4.46 cents by the county. And we did not increase expenditures in this fund. We simply decreased the amount needed from fund balance on that amendment.
Okay, any discussion? All right, I'll entertain a motion on those 2 amendments. To accept?
Motion to accept the amendments.
All in favor? Okay. Ms. Southern? Hi, oh, there you are.
The next budget amendment has to do with a capital project fund, which we use Fund 67 for that. Fund 60 is our operating fund for water and sewer. Coming into 14-15 year, we had a deficit in Fund 67 of $4.6 million. The reason for that, we think, is that expenditures were recorded in 67 for those construction projects. But when the revenue came in from the bond proceeds, it was recorded in Fund 60. So we can't just make a journal entry and reclassify that because it's a prior year. So we need a budget amendment to fix that, and that's what this does. Any questions about that? These are big numbers and
Don't be scared.
don't fall out.
That was well explained, though. That was well explained.
The money's still in the other fund.
The money is still in the other fund. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, this isn't a Ponzi scheme or anything like that, is it?
No.
Okay.
I make a motion.
All right.
A second.
All in favor? All right, you have it.
So we would like this to be for the 14-15-year child, if you'll just put that. Thank you so much.
Evelyn, how many of you did it take to keep someone from jumping out the window?
I had to pat her down first.
Okay, the next item, Mr. Setzer, this is that eligible facilities request for T-Mobile at 90 Cunningham Road.
Yes, I've received a eligible facilities request for the wireless telecommunications facility for 90 Cunningham Road. It is for T-Mobile. They have submitted their plans to simply just add a antenna to the 90 Cunningham Road. It's not adding any height or anything. And I've looked over everything. I've got the engineers. I've got the stamped engineer letter showing that there's sufficient capacity, and I don't see any problem with approving this and begin their work.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to talk to the board a little bit about these eligible facilities requests.
Right.
Gus and I have been looking at them, and it does seem like an awful lot of time on getting that on the agenda and Justin having to address it and us having to consider it. I'm going to look into, if it's okay with the board, whether we can't streamline that process. The purpose of them is, you know, state and federal law both say, and we've talked about this every time one of these comes up, if it is an eligible facilities request, thou shalt approve. The thing is, if nobody reviews that, we can't just take their word for it that it's because, you know, they'll come in with a 200-foot pole and say, oh, no, it was eligible because we marked that box on the application form. I want to see about having you approve a change to the amendment, change the ordinance that would amend it to where maybe it's just a stamped approval by your land use administrator and not have to have those come back here. Because I feel like they really, once he's approved them, they really are just a.
And this came in like 5 days after the last meeting, so it's been, you know, I looked over for a couple of days, so it's been sitting in the office for 3 weeks, just waiting for the meeting. So they're holding them up on beginning work as well, so that could help stream them and get work started a little sooner too.
So I'll bring in an amendment, and I'll have to go through planning board and a public hearing because it's a land use ordinance, but I think we can streamline this and not have to keep having to come back here.
What's the consensus of the board on that, what John said about?
Yeah, I think we all do that because if there's North Carolina laws changed last year, there's not much we can do to deny it if it meets the requirements, and Justin's the one to look at it and ensure that it meets the requirements of the state of North Carolina. If it does, there's nothing we can do but approve it anyway.
Okay.
However, I think over there on that one, you're gonna have to dig if you want to put any more antennas.
Okay, any further?
Mr. Mayor, you give me a motion to approve.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. Okay, no further discussion. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion approved.
All in favor? All right, the next item, don't go away, Mr. Setzer. The next item is an order of abatement for a nuisance violation at 185 First Street.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I just handed out some pictures. Should be enough for everybody to get some of the media. This is a house at 185 First Street. Back in September, I mailed a letter to a Diane Shipman who lives in Oviedo, Florida, who is the owner of this property, about after I received a couple complaints on the home about the weeds and everything being extremely, tall. Pictures, there's the home, it's pretty much filled with weeds all the way up to the roof line of the house. And I've contacted Ms. Shipman a couple times. She has informed me she didn't have the funds to clean it up. So I was in the process of going to go through the process back, 1st of October of, once I got through the time, giving her time to appeal that she wanted to go into abatement. Well, in that time, it was for sale as well. And in that time, it got a contract under it to be sold. So I kind of held off and just kind of was waiting to see if somebody's going to buy it, let them clean it up, so we don't have to get in the middle of it. Well, that's went on, and there's still been a holdup. There's still a contract. I've talked to the attorney that's usually doing the closing, and he doesn't seem like it's going to close anytime soon whatsoever. There's some stuff wrong with the estate, and I told him what I'd like to do with having the manager authorize our town crew to go over there with simply one of our bush hogs and just mow it down and make it look better for the people on First Street. And since then it would be a lien on the property, and he didn't seem to be a problem with that either as well. Since Ms. Shipman told me, and she never appealed, and she told me that we need to clean it up. So I'm just for you tonight to ask for allow me to let the town crew go and clean it up.
Council, I believe you have a motion, suggested motion on this matter.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, and I guess I would like to work on with you a little bit on getting some written permission to do that, because, the statutes say you can go and abate it, and in actuality and in functionality, unless you have somebody who's willing to buy, agreement that you come on and do it and charge them for the cost, it actually works better to go through with a lawsuit, because you can get an order to go in and abate it.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'd rather not do that, and if she's willing to give us something, right, and say clean it up and I'll pay the charges, that's the best of all worlds. So I think that the proper motion then would be to proceed with cleanup by cooperation, preferably that way, and if it has to be by filing some sort of action to proceed with that.
I think if the neighbors are all complaining and if you think something needs to be done, that it would be smarter to get her signature somewhere saying it's okay.
Joyce, would you like to make that motion?
Yes, I would. I'll make a motion that we send a letter to her and ask for her to sign off on it.
Do I have a second?
No, sir.
Does that include the second part of
Yes, of course.
just the motion?
To proceed with a claim.
Going together.
All in favor? Okay, carried. The next item is the text amendment regarding the indoor gun range to the town planning board. Ms. Setzer.
Yeah, this is our ordinance review committee met about 2 weeks ago, and we discussed this, and this was brought up at our last board meeting, and it was discussed to have myself and John work on a potential text amendment to bring it to the planning board for the rules, how to govern, and the requirements for indoor gun ranges. So this is just starting that process and getting it to the planning board and going from there.
Okay, so what we need is a motion just to go ahead and send it to the planning board. You want to make it, Ms. Watkins?
Yes.
Motion, okay. Second?
I'll make a motion.
Any discussion? Okay. All in favor? Okay. All right, Ms. Setz, I think you're still up, are you not?
Yes.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate y'all coming tonight.
Next on the L, which is actually, it's the same thing as Ford, and it's going to be Ford and the potential multiple text amendments to the planning board. One for off-site parking. This is for off-site parking agreements. Mobile food vending, construction standards for covering guttering. This is for new developments. This would be the standards for, in a sense, if a town ever want to take over a development, a street, just make sure it's bringing some standards up to date. There's some stuff that wasn't, talked to some DOT people and they couldn't even find out what some of our standards, what we were calling. They didn't even, so it's kind of bringing in one of those. And then one is also is a text amendment to the sign ordinance, a multi-tenant sign. We'll look at potentially changing some size for multi-tenant facilities, not single tenant, but places like, you know, places like Walmart or Kmart shopping centers, some of the size requirements.
All right, any discussion? Any
What is that on
questions?
site?
The idea on the offsite parking is to, in our zoning ordinance, if a business is wanting to open, say, a restaurant or just a retail store, if they can't get the required parking on their property, they can apply for offsite parking as long as it's within, 250 feet of the property, and they can get parking on the other side. Well, the issue runs into when somebody wants to try to get a offsite park agreement, and they go to an owner of the property, and they might give the agreement, but then the person that's leasing the property and say it's got a contract saying they're leased for 200 parking spots, and then they're giving up theirs since they're losing their parking spots for somebody else. In a sense, what it is just bringing, they have to have a statement from the owner and at least he agreeing to. That's the idea, at least what we're looking into. Might be tweaked some, but that's.
So the idea is just to make sure that that business has enough parking for its customers.
And it's not that somebody went under somebody else without them knowing, and all of a sudden there's all these cars parking in their parking lot that they didn't know.
Where it's off-site, we also need something more substantial in terms of proving that they're going to keep the ability to do that. That they've got the permission from everybody who they need to get it from. Because otherwise, we would permit a business to move in, and it could be the next week they don't have that permission anymore.
So it's vacant,
Yeah.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All right, I need a motion to go ahead and forward this to the town planning board for these items. Is there a second? Second. All in favor? All right. Mr. Counselor, this one's yours. Update on Brittany Lane.
Mr. Mayor, after these many months on this process, we are finally ready to, and I'm going to be filing it this week, file a complaint on that particular matter. It is, and we often find this is really what happens with minimum housing more than anything, is that it is a burned out house. It has been through an estate. There are 13 owners of it, one of whom lives in this county, and the rest of them are scattered to the winds. They, just has been as thorough as it could possibly be and lenient in the enforcement of the minimum housing code, but it is there and it is a problem for all of the neighbors. So we are finally ready to file that suit. I would tell you that service is going to continue to be a challenge. We've got to serve it on all of those people, and probably also go by publication, so you may see something publicized about it. We're going to get service the best way we can and see what kind of answer we get. I'm confident in 30 or 60 days we'll have an order for them to clean it up. We'll see where we can go from there.
Any questions of the counselor? All right, we don't need a motion, this information on this. Okay. Bid proposal for property located at 381 East Main Street. Counselor and Madam Manager.
Mr. Mayor, as the board is all aware, the town ended up acquiring a piece of property at 381 West Main, East Main, just down the hill, that has always been surplus to us. We haven't really functionally used it for much, although it is a rental space to a tenant down there. And so, 3 months ago, several months back, we started a bid process. We tried to bring a privately made bid that would then become a public, upset bid process. And instead, we went with a sealed bid process, and it resulted in just one bid, and I believe you all have a copy of it. It's from Mr. Walter Hunter, who I see here tonight. It's really to the pleasure of the board at this point. You could accept it, you could reject the bid at this point and wait and continue to collect a little bit of rent. And also, we should have to maintain it to some extent. But I feel like Summer has been working to keep it maintained and feel like it is pretty well maintained. So those are essentially the choices before you. You could, if you accept the bid, we would get under contract and move to closing as soon as we can. But you may decide it's just not enough money when, I'll remind you, we had quite a substantial chunk put into it. And if it's not costing the town terribly much money, and there is some income on it, it may be more worth our while to wait. And Summer, since you've been doing the maintenance of it, do you have any?
I agree with the council.
The board still being used by the church now?
Yes, sir.
What was the valuation of it?
125. That's a appraisal value.
Appraisal or tax value?
Tax value, sorry.
What's the pleasure of the board? What do you want to do?
I think in due fairness to the town, we need to reject this bid.
You want to put that in the form of a motion?
I will make the motion.
Okay, the motion is to reject the bid. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, the next item, Mr. Clerk, and council will present presentation of sufficiency notification 44 Lowry Lane.
Can't remember when we looked at it, January or February. What held it up was that one specific set of criteria that's in the subdivision, I wasn't comfortable with certifying it. The General Assembly came through to request, it's no longer required for voluntary annexation conditions, so I certified it.
Okay. And that was settled by the local bill. It was introduced into the legislature.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
it's all cleared up. So I guess basically now, council, all we need is just the motion to
set a public hearing for 7:05 on August 3rd.
Okay.
15 right here.
Okay, 7:05. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to set public hearing.
Second. All in favor?
And Mr. Mayor, just as a reminder, since this is our first meeting since that local act passed, I would just remind you that it did two things. It repealed, and this is becoming a trend that more and more municipalities are asking for this. It repealed the subdivision portion of those criteria, and also repealed the 10% satellite area requirement for us. So the town would be able to annex in a whole lot more property than it has been able to in the past. I don't know if that means that there will be a crush people beating on your door to try to get annexed in, but I think it would be good in the next couple of months to convene maybe the ordinance review committee and talk about a scoring kind of system to how we consider whether we want to let a property in or not, and look at our existing voluntary annexation policy, because it's not been changed since involuntary annexation more or less went away. So it'd be high time to look at it again in the next couple of months.
There are some more annexation bills before the legislature right now, different sorts. All right. So basically what we want to do is set that public hearing. So I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
We did that.
You just did it.
Did we? Did we do it? Okay. Sorry. John, you found me up there. I got lost. I thought we were through with you there.
Mr. Mayor, it wouldn't be worth my salt if I couldn't throw people off.
That's okay. All right, you're back up, Counselor.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to explain to you that and this is in your normal report that you get from the town tax collector about discoveries. We had a particularly larger set of discoveries, and this was because Jessie, in doing her due diligence and reviewing everything with the tax office after the revaluation, found that there was a whole list of properties that were partially in the town limit, and by law, we have to assess and collect taxes on real property and personal property that's found inside too. If you're part in and part out, you could keep it in the county and not have a town tax on it. But to make a long story short, there is a list of about, and Jessie, how many were there at the end of the day?
Approximately 12.
There's about 12 property owners that are about to get a town tax bill that they've not had in the past. I don't know whether you'll hear from them. We are going to try our best to explain to them what's going on and why this has happened. I have a form letter ready to go that explains what to do, and I'm sure Jessie will get more than a couple of phone calls. You may too, I don't know. But just know that by law, we have to try to collect those taxes, and there's really not much you can do selectively to say, okay, well, we'll give you a break. In fact, there's really nothing you can do. So just wanted to give the board a heads up and an opportunity to ask any questions you might have about that.
How many years do we go back, or do we just go back to?
We are,
I was a Discovery years ago, so.
right.
Yeah, they didn't go back on these things. And that's paid, that started out with paid without taxes.
We are researching whether we have to, how far back we would have to go. But if nothing else, this bill will be for this current tax year and get it right now, and we'll look at that issue.
Any further questions? Okay, somebody want to put it in a form of a motion?
Don't need one.
Oh, we don't?
No,
Okay.
information.
Okay. All right, let's start around the table. Joyce, you got anything you want to bring up tonight?
I do not, sir, that I can take up.
Okay. Carol?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Billy? Earl? Barbara?
Well, I would like to commend the mayor and the town employees and Summer, who worked so hard to make the 4th of July such a big success. It was, we didn't get to go to the concert, it was fabulous, and I thought the activities in town were a lot of fun, even though it was raining. Hundreds of people came and shot. All the store owners are very happy. So thank you for what you did.
Y'all didn't know all my kin folks were so musical, did you? Down there in South Carolina. We had a ball. It was really good. And I want to thank the town employees. The town employees got out there in that rain, lightning, and everything else. And all those little children with their little pets. We just had a ball. But Chad, everybody, I just want to thank y'all. That just says a lot for the employees of this town. How dedicated you folks are, and I appreciate it. And I know this board does too. All right, I've got a couple of announcements. The media, the town of Franklin will be hosting the joint meeting with Macon County and the town of Highlands on Thursday at the Lazy Hiker. That's at 6 o'clock. For those of you that might not be familiar, 3 times a year, the town of Highlands, the town of Franklin, and the county commissioners get together and talk about mutual projects, what's going on, plans. So that's it's very productive, and actually we look forward to it. All right, that's all I have tonight. Unless somebody's got something they want to add, I'll entertain a
Would you like to make a motion tonight? One of these days, I'd like to see no second. Yeah, all in favor? All right, we're adjourned.